Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of How to Harad for the 4th Age Total War Dominion of Men, and in this episode I am going to take the fight to Gondor, to the Reunited Kingdom, where we will finally get to see some of our elite units go head-to-head against some of theirs. And so we're going to take the first steps here by moving this army that we've assembled. We looked at it in more detail in the last episode, and we're just going to march it up into South Ithilien here. I don't think there's anything in the way. And in fact, did we get an agent for this purpose? Yeah, I think we did. I probably should have had him. Actually, we've got one here who's got a swift steed, which is going to give him a bit more movement points. It's not showing up, but I think he does get some extras. Yeah. So we'll move him up to kind of scout things out. And as expected, there's not really anything showing in Ithilien. Now, there could be some units, I suppose, hiding in the trees, but nothing has ambushed us here. And Adunabar has managed to hold on for a long time down here, so not too much of a threat from this quarter. We're just going to bypass it. We are not allied with them anymore. Of course, they stuck with our recent enemies, Dunland, in the war. So they are not allied with us, but they are at war with our other enemies, so I don't expect any trouble from them. In the north, in the Rohan region, we're just holding off Dunland, mostly through diplomacy and bribes and making sure they can't get into our western territories. And then we're also timing out this siege here. We've got 3 more seasons for the Eorling capital. We are moving some men around as well. We've got a lot of governors potentially in this region. We want to spread them around into different territory. And the other thing we're doing is assembling a large Corsair fleet to head over the water into the coasts of Gondor to hit Dol Amroth, Pelargir, places like that. We're getting men trained up at these coastal settlements of all different types. So let's see what the AI does to respond here. Oh yes, we did send this emissary to get a bit of intel on the interior of Mordor. This is a region that it is sometimes hard to break into in terms of getting map information. Of course, you could diplomatically get map information, but just in terms of seeing what's going on in an up-to-date fashion, the mountain passes are really kind of a hard counter to your agents. You would need to get a spy into like a settlement like Minas Ithil, and then get him out again, and then there's another fort on the other side. So we can tell that Adunabar does still hold some considerable territory here. Let's go and take a look at the other settlements. Yeah, we've got Saragon there, so that means all these settlements to the south are most likely held by Adunabar as well. I don't think they're at war with Rohan, or with Rune, rather. So although Rune has taken these 2 settlements, or this one at any rate, Adunabar still holds on to Mordor North and the southern coasts of the Sea of Nirn, so that's very nice to know. They do have forces up here. Let's go see. Do they have Barad Den? Yes, they do. Interesting. So they're actually looking pretty strong. So what I think I will want to do then is not take Minas Ithil. We're going to go past that. And the reason is if we take that, you can bet that Adunabar is going to attack us and take it right back. If the Reunited Kingdom had expanded into northwestern Mordor, I would be more inclined to take this, just to deny it to the Reunited Kingdom and to use it as a sort of a base to keep them away from Gondor. But now we'll just use Minas Anor for that purpose. So let's get our scout out and around. Just go in the trees here. And yeah, there's nothing. Oh, wow. I could have sworn Minas Ithil fell to the Reunited Kingdom already, but it looks like they have not. And so that's great news. We can actually try something very interesting. We can march right over here and try to take Minas Anor in a field battle. Let's see if we can actually do that. You know what, though? I think I'm going to change my approach slightly. And I don't want to attack them there. I want to go right here. And that way we have a bit better chance at hitting this guy when he comes out of the city. Let's see if they stick around. No, they're not going to. Okay, fair enough. We'll go ahead and put the city under siege. We may as well. I don't even know if I want to build siege towers. Yeah, I probably should. For Minas Anor, you pretty much only want to build siege towers. I don't think there's any point in building rams. As you can see, the other options are grayed out, so you can't build ladders or sapping points. But rams you could bring. The problem is the gates are so strong. I think any ram you build is going to be destroyed. And really, ideally, you want to bring probably more like 6 or so siege towers. But we'll see. It would be good to take this in an assault, actually. Let's just take a look at our news here. We have been doing a lot of recruiting in the Umbar and Harandor region to get our coastal guys ready to go. In Umbar City, we've made High Inquisitors Chambers. This is a building that increases law throughout the faction's lands. So that should be helping everything in terms of our finances. And as you can see, we made a profit of, over 9,000 last turn. 19,500 of that was from tributes and, general diplomacy. But that would be essentially tributes. We've got our 3 protectorates, and they are by far doing the lion's share of our funding. I mean, yes, we're making a lot of money in trade, but if we lose those tributes, let me show you how important that is. If we take a look at our finances, we are set to make 25,000 this season. We are expecting 12,000 in tributes. That's possibly a low figure because typically they've been closer to 15 or even 19,000 a turn. And so in practice, a huge amount of our economy is dependent upon having client states, which I think is very cool. So it's kind of fun. It makes those protectorates really important. You want to keep an eye on them. Speaking of which, we may as well take another quick glance here. No one making any alliances that are going to cause problems for us. No, everything is basically the same here. We do want to keep an eye on Rune in case we happen to get close enough to them. We don't want Khand attacking us. But we'll see if we are allowed to assault minus honor next turn. Just 2 seasons left for that, and geez, I think we're just about ready. We can go into some of these buildings now. A Shadow Grove is one option, and a Tribal Gathering is the other. It's just a matter of which alignment do you want to go. Shadow Grove would, of course, be for the Shadow Cult, and Tribal Gathering would be for our Ways of Darkness. I'm going to go here. It doesn't much matter. Either way, you're going to get the Rohan Spearmen Levies, which is just a very basic spear unit, but it's good to have something. And in Edoras, we're working on our provincial pacification. In Entwade, we will work on that eventually, but I want to get Edoras kind of squared away first. Dol Boran, I think we've built everything we can. We could theoretically recruit some spearmen levies, and that actually might be nice. I think I may want to just go ahead and train them whenever they're available. And we've got low income taxes for the growth. We want to make sure that we've got some extra units to throw in various places as we need them. And we've got another few turns of recruitment, I would say. I'm kind of using that time to get our fleets back into position so that we can then get them refitted. And let's see, yeah, let's go for another skirmisher unit, another sword unit. No, let's do Cav this time. Let's do another Herodwaith Riders. Habad. Let's do some footmen. We just want to have something to hold down cities. And we can throw around a bit of cash here. 20,000 to spend. Carenbad is probably a good place to do it. I think, yeah, crop rotation might be nice here. That's going to give us a pretty good land tax benefit of, it's usually good for a couple hundred. It's going to have a bit of corruption cost associated with it, but that's not too much of a problem. And here we've got a fairly promising family member who I think he married into the family in between episodes here. He's poor governor and poor commander, but you notice the poor governor traits are not that bad. He's got -5 to trade, income tax, and land tax. So that's -5 to all those things. These traits are often kind of a wash. They give you a bit of public order at the cost of some money or, other little bonuses and penalties. But poor governor is okay, especially if you've got someone who is intelligent. This guy is energetic and intelligent and staunch. He's actually quite good. He's got the wary fighter trait for extra hit points. Staunch is really good. As you can see, it totally overshadows the poor governor trait. He's going to get bonuses to the order of 15%. And so that's very, very nice. And because he's intelligent, he is going to get better at governing faster. So that poor governor trait is going to go up to adept governor or higher fairly soon. All right, let's see what the AI is going to say, especially the Reunited Kingdom here. All right, Rohan trying to get into Edoras with a spy. Oh, and they succeeded. That's not good. And we've got a big, big army hitting us in the back. Okay. All right, yeah, this is the big one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of men-at-arms. 6, actually. More or less full. We've got 1 or 2 that have a few men gone. And they've got, you know, actually an okay mix for the Reunited Kingdom. They got a couple of archers. They do have mariners. These are always a very frustrating unit to deal with because they've got javelins as well as swords, and they're pretty solid. And it's got a family member leading it. I don't know if we know anything about his traits. Yeah, we can tell that he's an inept governor. That's good. So that's going to be -2 morale. Tight-fisted, that's going to hurt morale further. Okay, that's actually good. That's going to... Okay, so he's going to have that made up a little bit by the fact that he's a Dunedain. They get bonuses to troop morale. He is charismatic. He's dubious, though. So he's not super loyal to his lord, and his men are not feeling too great about that. He's commanding stature, but he's under the weather, which means this might be the time to try to take him out. Inside, minus honor, all we have is this single family member with a stone right of the mountains. Very interesting ancillary there. And he's got also not very good commanding traits. He's short in stature. He's also under the weather, so these are hurting his hit points. So we might be able to get a 2-fer here. All right, so I think I'm actually liking this formation. This is more or less the default starting formation that the game gave me, with the exception of the fact that these archers were sort of smushed up with the men of Far Harad. But we've got a single archer of Harad up front, 3 in the back. That'll give them more chances for doing some flanking, I guess, and maneuvering around to get some of those tough Gondorian-style units in the backs, maybe, which will be a little easier. We've got... In the wings, we've got our Harandor armsmen. We've got 4 units total. So we've got 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and each of those is backed up by men of Far Harad. So I kind of like that formation. And we've got spears in the center. Now, spears in the center, I kind of like spears in the flanks because that's where cavalry tends to attack. But on our rear, we've got very, very solid cavalry of our own. We've got Scarlet Shields, 3 units over here, and over here we've got a single unit backed up by 2 full units of Mumakil. So I'm really not too worried about our flanks, and the AI does not have a lot of cav. So I think we're just going to go with this. This is a first battle for Yazid of Umbar. We'll see how he does. Get a very, very large force here, and the enemy is coming in reinforcements from our right, from our left rather. So what we could do is send the elephants over along with this unit and deal with them before this army gets close. And the elephants are quick, so they could have plenty of time, really, to come back and join the main battle. And we're just going to, I think, leave everything like this. I think we'll keep Yazid on skirmish mode, just in case our attention is diverted. And I think the archers... you know what? Let's go with fire flaming ammo. We don't often get a chance to use it. I know this guy has some morale debuffs, and that may hurt his men. So... let's see if that works out. All right, we've got the Mumakil here. Let's send them right at the Knights of the White Tree. And it looks like they're not waiting around. They're rushing forward. We'll want to get our attention back to them as soon as we can. No longbowmen in this army, though. This guy may have thought better of things. But you see how quickly we're able to catch him with our elephants. So probably he will be done for pretty quickly. We're experiencing a bit of slowdown here with all the units on the screen. We've got flaming ammo. It's a bit nuts. But I think these sword units are going to be able to hold the flanks. We've got scary units in the men of Far Harad. There goes the enemy general. All right, we don't need to worry about him anymore because he is... he's dead, right? The family member is dead. The unit can go back to the city, but it's not going to stay. Okay, let's go run these swordsmen in. Run them in here. You can go straight ahead, and you can go for those mariners. And let's start to get our cavalry around. I know the woods are not ideal, but our cavalry is going to be pretty good against most of these units, honestly. Let's get our men of Far Harad around on the flanks. If we can take out this enemy general, look how fast those elephants are compared to the other units. All right, send the men of Far Harad at the King's Swordsman. Send the elephants towards the rear. Okay, where can you go? Let's hit the men-at-arms, and we'll hit them with the men of Harad at the same time. Should be pretty effective. Oh, instant rout. Awesome. Okay, I know it's a little hard to see here with the trees. Let's send the elephants right into the back of the Knights of the White Tree here, cause some damage. And I think I want to keep the general right back here. These swords and spears, you know what? I'll have these guys on guard mode. I probably should have done that from the beginning. We've totally routed their left. And there goes the enemy general. Alright, let's get the men of Harad into the rear. Hit these Kingdom Militia. They're not going to be long for the world. Oh, beautiful stuff. King Swordsman, you know what? I can take him out. These guys have nowhere to run. You can all abandon guard mode then and choose your targets. Fire at will. I think we can probably stop with the firing, actually. We don't want to cause any or too much friendly fire. Yes, Kingdom Militia came back for a second and then thought better of it. All right, here's all of our lovely cavalry. That was a slaughter. You guys are trapped between our Gondor armsmen and our terrifying cavalry and infantry. And looking at the damage done, we got 51 men of Harad in this unit, 68 in the other. That's pretty good numbers for what is a very, very flimsy unit, honestly. So I'm very, very pleased with that performance by them. So I think we'll just follow this up and see you on the campaign map. Well, although as you can see we destroyed both armies and Minas Anor is now completely empty, the Reunited Kingdom is not content with that result. They have sent another army on this very same turn. I was wondering if this might happen. This is under just a lieutenant. We outnumber them. The balance of power is quite a bit in our favor. And they've got a more diverse roster this time around, but a lot of these units are rather beat up, it has to be said. It looks like they've seen some action against a Dunabar. They've got just a few shreds of men-at-arms, longbowmen. They do have some Lasarnic axemen, a decent unit size for one of them at any rate. And it's a shame that these are not more full units. This would be a pretty interesting army to fight. But as it is, we'll see how they stand up against us. I'm expecting more of the same. Yeah, and I really like this formation that the AI sets up when I have this particular combination of units. We've got our archers kind of in the back, one out in the front. We've got our two sort of columns of swords flanking the spears. You can see as well that in the last battle we did take some losses among the spears and among these men of Harad, but our swords are largely untouched. Of course, our cavalry is essentially unscathed as well. Just a very, very good result. I've moved back from the tree line, so we're not fighting exactly the same battle, and this one will be a little bit easier to see. There's those lovely lights from the fire arrows going out towards the enemy, and it looks like they're not going to wait around too much to engage either. This one should be a lot quicker, actually, because, well, they're not led by a family member, so they're going to be much more fragile in terms of morale. Here's the enemy captain going right into the center to hit the spears. Let's get some of these guys headed out to get a bit of a charge on some of these lighter units. Go ahead and hit those Lasarnic axemen. And yeah, let's go right into King Swordsman here. Get our men of Harad over there. See how the left is going. Not too well for the Reunited Kingdom. And an insta-rout once our cavalry hits. We've got men of Harad chopping into this unit of King Swordsman. They're already shaken, wavering. I expect routing very quickly here. Cut them down by about half. There they go. And yeah, it's kind of a mess here. Let's just make sure those archers aren't going to cause too much trouble to my elephants. We'll get them on the run. Those longbowmen, there's only like 10 of them, but they can still be very, very damaging. And they're going to have good morale. And actually, speaking of damaging and all of this, we better have these guys just stop firing, because we're going to enrage our own elephants if we're not careful. Well, that's all the Reunited Kingdom has to throw at us, at least on this turn, and with that, we have captured Minas Anor, our first settlement in Gondor proper. And the first set of victories, the first couple of battles for the general here and his newly raised army. Let's go ahead, and we know what to do. We're going to lay desolate here. We've got a lot of population in the city, not very happy with us, The only way to pacify them is to, well, pacify them. And there's that nice green face and the nice pile of smoke heading towards the sky. So let's see, once we have minus honor under our belt, what other kinds of things we can get out of it. Now, there's a lot of pre-built buildings here, of course, landmarks and things that we can't destroy, like the Othram, of course. We'll keep those nice walls. The Hallows, unfortunately, we can't get rid of those. It's sort of a permanent Ways of the West building. We're going to keep the Causeway. That's actually nice, improving roads, trade, and all those things. I think we'll hold off on the Homeland Dominion here. But yeah, Great Lawkeepers, we'll get rid of that. That gives us 5,000 Mirian. And the Royal Barracks. This is where those some of those units are coming from anyway. The Men-at-Arms and even more dangerous things. That's going to get us 7 grand for destroying it. So you know how much money they poured into that. Merchant's Quarter we'll absolutely keep. That gets us a level 2 scout. Very nice. And we'll keep the Harlond. This is enabling us to train a Southron ship of war. Not right now, but if we have the pacification and all of that built as well. There's just a lot of buildings at this place. Houses of Healing is giving us some nice benefits for public health and land tax, I guess. And then they've got a Chamber of Records here. Okay, this increases law throughout the faction's lands. This, I think we can keep and benefit from because it is essentially sort of a version of a library. So we actually get something out of the Chamber of Records. We are not uncultured men of the South. We are, you know, we've got libraries. We know how this stuff works. We know how to read. Court of the Fountain, yeah, we'll keep that. Although you could argue that maybe we shouldn't. But this, again, operates very similar to the sort of happiness buildings that we ourselves can build in our own homelands. So that's why we get these benefits. And Marathon, this is the Feast Hall, right? So this is like a sort of a tavern line of building. This is providing us our assassins. We'll definitely keep the open policy. That's basically a requirement for a chief city like this. And they've already gone and built deep mines for us and a metalsmith's quarter. So they've gone up to the 2nd level of industry building here. Very, very nice. And so this is going to, let's see, what's it going to do for us? For the dwarves, if they build a metalsmith's quarter, it increases the speed of construction faction-wide. But for us, what does it do? Upgrades armor +1. Awesome. Okay, so this is going to be great. And the Royal Mint, this is a specialization building for the Reunited Kingdom, I believe. I don't think we benefit from this. It says effect increases income tax collection faction-wide. However, this, as you can see, this is part of the description. The general rule of thumb when you're determining whether or not to destroy a building is to check for the effects line. And this is a little misleading because buildings like this don't, buildings like this that affect your more than just a single province, right, that are coded to affect faction-wide things, they don't show an effect line by default in the Rome Total War engine, and we can't make them do that. What we can do is add this little fake effect line, but it's part of the actual text description. On the other hand, Metalsmith's Quarter has a provides line, which indicates what it actually does, and then the effect line, we can just add whatever we want here. It's just like writing the description. So this actually is not giving us anything. We can destroy that, get us 3,000, and that should be good. We'll, of course, lower the taxes. We don't want our king's authority to be compromised here. And we'll go ahead and we can retrain a bunch of guys because we have armor. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go all out. We're going to armor up our Mumikill. Yeah, let's armor up our men of Far Harad. They don't have too much armor. And these spearmen have been doing yeoman's work there. They've probably taken the most losses of any unit, just standing there, holding the line against the swordsmen in those 2 battles. So they deserve the upgrade. I think I want the Scarlet Shields to be next in terms of upgrades because they're doing a lot of strike work. They're elites, so they would get the armor. In terms of recruitment, let's get a scout here. We'll get one out, and then we'll keep retraining and armoring up our guys in the following episodes. But very, very happy to get that one under our belt. And one of the nice side effects of conquering minus honor is you get a really cool trait and actually a change to the name of the general. who is responsible for taking the city. So we've got Yazid the Great Conqueror, conqueror of the White City, +3 command versus Dunedain. Let's take a look at his character trait. He's ranked as a poor governor and a poor commander right now, but we can't just go by that. He's dutiful. He's a reckless fighter, but he conquered the White City. He's also earned some scars here. He's badly wounded for his action there. This man has done what even the Dark Lord himself could not do. He has taken the great city of Minas Anor by force of arms. So that's going to give him a +3 command when he's fighting against Dunedain. Now, that is not showing up here, and his actual command rating is not showing up here. So this is more like his military rank. He does not have any ancillaries or any titles per se, so he does not have a very high command stat right now. He's not the faction leader or the faction heir, but if he were actually in battle against Dunedain, you would see that +3 show up there. And looking at our fleets, we do have an opportunity here to take care of this little problem that's been staring me in the face for several years at this point. We've got, of course, inside the harbor at Lynn here, which we've had blockaded for quite a while. We've got actually just a single boat, but what was there was this fleet, captain of ships Gilbarad, with a ton of Palarans and Numeramars. I don't think there's any of the highest tier ships here. These are the 2 lower ones. But these Palarans are no joke, and so we do want to deal with this, in part because the Reunited Kingdom is landing some men on those ships. So let's take a look at what the balance of power looks like. These are all Corsair Marauders, so we should outnumber them. Okay, that's all right, but I think we can do better. In fact, let's this is not going to help too much, but let's take this guy out of our blockade of Pelargir and bring him over. He'll initiate the fight. Maybe that helps a little. Let's see how this goes. Clear victory. Okay. All right. We've got this. We've kicked them out of Lynn here, which means, of course, now those 3 swordsmen are free to disembark anywhere along our coast. But hopefully the AI will not do that. I don't know where they went. They just sailed away into the fog of war. And here's that tiny single ship fleet. So we'll go ahead, and these Corsair Marauders can blockade Lynn here. These will go hunting south. Let's see if we can find them. There they are. And we did a lot of damage to them, so I think we have pretty good chances of sinking them. That's a big loss. If the Reunited Kingdom was saving up for some grand invasion, the fact that we have basically stuffed their fleet, and we've got most of ours intact, honestly, that's really got to hurt them. That was basically a huge wasted investment on their part. And I'm starting to see why the Reunited Kingdom was not able to make much progress in Mordor. These stacks of Adunabar are pretty substantial. We can't really tell exactly what they've got here, but some dark swords in this one, and a decent mix of stuff here: swords, bows, and swords of the shadow, which are a pretty high tier unit, and capable of going against men-at-arms, say, potentially. So Adunabar has a lot of stuff here, and it looks like they've actually taken back Daggerlad. So I think the Reunited Kingdom is basically down to Gondor at this point. It may have lots of territory in the north. I'm not sure what they've got. But they don't, as I feared, they don't seem to have large or at least strong settlements in this region. Now, they are besieging that settlement. So let's send a scout up here, see if we can get a better view of what's going on. All right, that's a tiny expedition. Oh, that's Rohan. Okay. So Rohan's picking up the slack as usual. The Reunited Kingdom getting beaten by us. And Adunabar training some Rovanian levies, which means I don't know if they get them out of here. They may, but probably here, southern Rovanian. So the next settlement over, Adunabar is still in possession of that. This means that, yeah, I kind of, I really thought the Reunited Kingdom had Minas Ithil. And so the fact that they don't means that we may be going to war with the Adunabar sooner than expected. That's probably okay. I think we can handle it, but we do need to start getting reinforcements up there. I don't want to take this force out of Minas Anor, I'm deciding. We could certainly send them south and continue to do a lot of damage, but I think at this point it makes sense to kind of keep them in this region at any rate. The Reunited Kingdom may have, you never know, like another stack or so, or something that could at least threaten the settlement. And more to the point, Adunabar is certainly capable of coming down within probably this turn. yeah, they could get down to minus Ithil with one of these full stacks, and then within a turn or two, put us under siege and minus honor. So I want to keep right around here, and then we'll focus on the fleet. And actually, I lost track, and we took Aldburg in a just starving out type situation. No sally battle, no assault needed. We had them under siege, and then it just fell. That's really a sad showing for Rohan. And so now we can just occupy, expel, or lay desolate. They've got a lot of people here, so yeah, let's go ahead and lay desolate. It's another settlement to hold. It's public order is going to be strained for a little bit because we're getting more and more settlements. But Edoras, we just started building Outland Dominion. That's 8 seasons, but we're at least on our way. We were able to address some of the unrest situation thanks to a spy that I think is still in here. And speaking of that, we should probably get another one in. We've got one, but you never know. Maybe a second one will help. And we might want to have one in Aldburg anyway. We can train one here. Yeah, let's do it. More spies never really hurt. In terms of taking Aldburg, yeah, Marshal's Muster Hall, that's gone. That's 5,000 for us. King's Feasts for another 4,500. So Aldburg has fallen, which means the 3 major settlements for Rohan in terms of its recruitment potential are now in our hands. We don't have to worry about them. Arguably there is a bit of threat from Eisenmarch. This is a chief city, tends to have a decent population and decent infrastructure at the beginning of the campaign even. So we could see some attacks from there. But again, any attacks from our west are going to have to deal with the Hornburg. And now we can train stuff. It's not good stuff. We've got spearmen levies at this point. But we can go up to mustering fields and get some cav, right? So that'll be a little bit of a benefit at any rate. We may as well do that. And, you know, maybe with some other specialization buildings, I'm trying to see if we go to, let's take a look at our city development. Certain buildings of these may actually allow us to train elite units out of our homelands. Okay, if we were going cultic, we could go with cultic scions of Harad. If we were going cultic, which we're not currently, and I don't really have plans to in the near future, but this is something to keep in mind. If you're playing as Harad or Rune or Dunland or Adunabar, and your faction is cultic by having lots of cultic temples in your territory, then you can go with the Scions building, cultic Scions. All of those factions, all 4 of those factions I just named, can build this as a development specialization building, and that allows them to train elite cultic units, like, let's say, the cultic axemen, the 2-handed axemen, which are effective against armor. You've also got some shadow riders, I believe, very good heavily armored cavalry, swords of the shadow. I think those are the big 3, and it depends sort of what faction you're playing as to which ones you get, so it's going to have a bit of variation. But this might be worth it in a settlement like Hornburg, where we're just never going to get really good units anyway. Even if we do stay military, we're going to get up to Swords of Harad and Hairdwaith Riders. You know, I don't know that that's honestly worth it for a settlement like the Hornburg, which we probably want to be financial, because it's going to make a lot more money that way. But you could get around that by potentially building the Scions building, although that is a military as well. The other thing I'm thinking about that doesn't require the cult, perhaps, is the Inquisitors. Okay, so High Inquisitors Network requires Inquisitor Chambers and administrative or open policy. So this is an admin one. Inquisition Enforcers and skilled spies can be recruited. The former, the Enforcers, being the privately trained horsemen of the Inquisitor. So these guys are kind of like the Scarlet Shields cavalry unit that we get. It's just that this is available at an administrative settlement. So this is actually something that we may want to go with at Edoras. We may want to make this admin, and if we do that, we're going to get happiness buildings, more law buildings, and those Inquisition Enforcers if we go with that specialization building. I think that makes sense. This is not going to be a big earner, and it's not going to give us great military prospects either. But speaking of military, we've not checked minus honor in terms of that. I think this is going to be basically a Gondorian style place. So yeah, we're going to get like Hillmen, Gondorian Axemen, and that's it. We're not going to get anything super special here, but I like these units. Gondorian Axemen and Hillmen, they're not, you know, great in terms of their stats. They are not very good in terms of defense, but I just like the idea of these rough guys, basically living up in the mountains by themselves, not really worrying too much about the king down in Minas Anor. And, if you come in as a different faction and start taking over land in Gondor, they're like, sure, we'll sign up with you. We don't want to pay taxes anyway. And they'll, you'll tax them. But still, it's kind of fun to think of this other population type living in the hills and forests of Gondor, a place we think we know so well from, the books and the movies and so on. Oh, yes, and we have definitely attracted some attention here. Dunabar, which has basically been sitting on its hands for the whole campaign, it has been holding its own, but has not really done anything, has not attempted to cross the Anduin since the very, very early days. Now, as soon as Minas Anor falls into my hands as the human player, it senses weakness, right? It sends 2.5 stacks over here to check us out. Now, there are some interesting units here. We've got a mix of some low-tier Men of Mordor, guys very similar to the sort of Gondorian units I can train, very lightly armored, but good numbers. We've got the usual infantry, cultic-type infantry, and we got some Orc champions. We've got some Uruk Guard, a very nice unit, and we've got Hill Trolls, so that's no good. They've also got some catapults of the Shadow Cult. They've got some more orcs. And what is that? Shadow Riders down here? Yeah, Shadow Riders. A pretty decent cav unit. Honestly, I think we can deal with all of this. The one thing I'm concerned about is facing Hill Trolls in battle and the potential for a crash there. But it's very likely that they're going to attack us. They're certainly not coming over here to say hi, sorry we dropped the alliance with you when Dunland attacked. And they're not going to attack Caer Andros or Calenhad either, because why would they? What we could do now that there's no longer really a pretense of keeping a buffer in this region, and since Aldbrich has fallen, we could take this army down south to take Calenhad for ourselves. It looks like this is the new capital of Rohan, but taking it honestly would connect up our realm. It would allow us to get reinforcements up into Rohan if we really needed to. So it probably does make sense to do that. And we'll need to be fortifying the eastern line of the Anduin very soon at any rate. But maybe what we can do is kind of wait on that until we really have to fight these guys. And instead, we're going to get our fleet together because we have everything ready. We've cleared out the way. We've sunk that fleet finally with the 3 swordsman units on it. And we've got a big fleet here ready to blockade in case anything else comes our way. At Umbar City, we've got a family member. We're ready to head out. He is an expert commander, just ready to go. We're going to take all of these good units, and we're going to put him on these couple of Marauders and a Dromund here. And we're going to get him over to Anumbar, where, let's take a look at what else we have. We do have this is just a ship of war. It's not really anything terribly useful. Yeah, we'll take all of these guys, I guess. And taking a look at our army, this is already more than a half stack. We've got sort of a linchpin unit with the Umbar Guard that is going to be inspiring the nearby troops. We've got a very aggressive anti-infantry style army, it looks like. Not a lot of ways for us to deal with cav with these guys, but we may not have to, fighting either Adunabar or the Reunited Kingdom. And we may need to split these forces up, actually, because we're going to have more than 20 units here. We've got a bunch of guys at Karis Nan. I'll just get them ready here. And then we've got a bunch of guys at Habad. Now, these are, in a way, more like just reinforcements for the sake of having a garrison, I guess. So this is, about a quarter stack worth of units. We also have a bunch of men at Harngan that I've been training. We've got some Harondo armsmen. And we'll go all the way up to these archers of Harad and take all of them out. March them right up to Lon New Elanath and get them ready to be ferried across to Linhir, Pelargir, Dol Amroth, all these places that we're going to be checking out in the next episode. I anticipate that what we're going to see pretty soon is the fall of Gondor. It's going to quickly become a failed state, and we're going to be fighting a new foe in the Kingdom of Adunabar. So I hope you'll join me for that one, folks. In the meantime, thanks for watching this one, and take care until the next one. Bye-bye.